Hey, my Liptons. I wanted to come in here and do a Bollywood film review. This is going to be my first Bollywood film review of the new year of 2026. Um, so it's been a minute since I did anything Hindi film review related, anything ZTV review related. And I wanted it to be like an oldest gold film review. Um, so, um, and this film is from the early 70s. This is a film called Daag. It is a Yash Chopra film, starring Rajeshkhanna, Sharmilatagore, and Raki Gulzar. So, um, listen, I've been watching. I will say this: I have been watching not as much as I used to, but like I have been watching sporadically a few um Bollywood films as of late. Like I've watched um Ragish no, not Ragish. Rakish Roshan film with Rekha in it. I believe it's Kun something. I need to go back and find it. I wanted to do a review of it because I wanted to kind of do like a parody review because the film is so ridiculous. That film is very ridiculous. I watched that. I've been watching quite a bit of Yash Chopra films, I would say, these past couple of days. Um, the reason why I wanted to do this particular film review is because, so if y'all have been on my YouTube channel, y'all will see that I have done a few Yash Chopra film reviews. So if y'all guys go to my YouTube channel, which by the way, you guys should subscribe, okay? At Ronnie Lipton, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I did create a playlist of my Bollywood / ZTV show reviews. If you guys can go here. So I have done quite a bit of reviews and unpopular opinions. There have been a couple of Yash Chopra films that I did reviews of. So I remember me doing Silsila. I did Vakt. I did Dar. What else? All right, going down. Yeah, so here's what here. What? Yeah, so I did a couple. Silsila, I did an unpopular opinion video on that. You guys can go watch that here. Bikiza did well. So I will say this about Yash Chopra films, especially Yash Chopra films from the like oldest gold, like as far as like the 1970s to the 1980s. While I love Yash Chopra, I love him dearly, and he is truly missed. I think that Bollywood today is really like I said, Bollywood is really missing directors like him in shit for like the past 20 years. You know, Bollywood has just been in the gutter. So I truly miss Yash Chopra as a director for this new era of nepotistic star kids. But I will say this, and there's just like, you know, small criticism. I will say, like, for Yash Chopra films back in like the 70s and 80s, there are times where some of his films can be a little bit long-winded, and I felt that way when I was watching Chandani from 1989, I believe. When I was watching that, it felt a little long-winded watching that movie. There's just times where I felt like there were certain songs there that were put there as filler because he didn't really have any words for, and I think, and that's crazy to say because usually I'm a fan of a good amount of the songs that are in his films, but you know, watching that, even watching what too, like I felt that way. It felt a little bit dragged out, and it didn't feel very cohesive at times. So, and I'm talking about Yash Chopra back in like the 70s. I'm not particularly talking about his films like in the 90s per se. I feel like the films in the 90s were quite good, but in the 70s and 80s, like it did feel quite drawn out. I would say for this particular film, Daag, this, like, especially for this film being in 1973, to me, at least, this felt like the first Yash Chopra film of like a 90, like within like the 1970s, where it didn't feel drawn out. It didn't feel like filler. The story was very, very cohesive. Okay, so I have to get, I don't know if it was like different writers for this particular film. I enjoyed it. Like it really, really kept me going, and it kept me like, oh my God, like what is gonna happen next? And so far, I've also watched quite a few of the pairings of Rajeshkhanna and Sharmilatagore. I watched Aradhana. I watched Amar Prem. Did I watch another film of theirs? I believe it was those two. And I would say, apart from those two films, I would say my favorite of their pairing is Daag. To me, I felt like Daag felt like it kind of kept me on my toes, and I was looking forward to seeing the ladder of the story and the climax of the story. Okay, so like I said, this film has Rajeshkhanna, Sharmilatagore, and Raki. So Rajeshkhanna's character is Sunil. Sharmilatagore's character is Sonia. Listen, and anytime I hear the name Sonia, my Liptons, anytime I hear that name, I always want to sing Ledona, Ledona, you are my Sonia. I always want to sing that song from Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham. Hey, you nazena pero, like I always want to sing that song. Anytime I hear the name Sonia, I always want to like break out in song, singing "You Are My Sonia." But yeah, that's a little bit cheesy for the ones that get that reference. But yeah, so Sharmilatagore's character's name was Sonia, and Raki's character's name was Chandani, and that's really no pun intended, because Yash Chopra ended up making the film that really brought him back into the mainstream with Chandani in 1989. So, and I'm not going to give too much, I don't want to be too long with this review. And obviously there is going to be some spoilers. So I will say this, this film is on Netflix, by the way. So if you guys want to watch Daag, it is on Netflix. You guys can go watch it there. I believe, I don't know if the Chopra company, Aditya Chopra and them, made a deal with Netflix, because like quite a bit of their films is on Netflix right now. I actually think I'm going to watch another Yash Chopra film on there. I think it's called Anaya. I forgot what it's called, but I think it's with Amrita Singh and Juhi Chalwal that's in that movie. I want to watch that next. But yeah, there's quite a bit of Yash Chopra films that are on Netflix right now. But if you guys want to watch Daag, it is on Netflix. You guys can go watch it. If you guys don't want any spoilers. But if you want me to spoil a few things, I want to spoil a couple of things in this film review, you guys can continue watching. But so the movie starts off with, Sharmilatagore and Rajeshkhanna's characters, Sonia and Sunil. They're in love. They want to get together. Sonia, I don't know what is up with Sonia's aunt in this movie. She was getting on my nerves. So Sonia's living with her aunt and her uncle, and her aunt just doesn't want Sonia. First of all, she feels like Sonia is a bad influence on her daughters and whatever. So there was that. They didn't really give a reason as to why she didn't like Sonia per se, but Sonia, I like the fact that Sonia, and this usually like with heroines in Hindi films, especially for back in the oldest gold Bollywood days, usually like their characters, like if they're not liked by like their elders or like their aunt or something like that, or the stepmom or whatever, they tend to be very they tend to be very weak and obedient towards them, and try to be like, oh, I don't want to do this because I don't want to upset but for Sonia's character, I was happy that like she was like, I don't give a damn if you don't want me to marry Sunil. I'm gonna marry Sunil if I want to. Okay, so I was happy that they kept her character to be like that strong character for this film. So Sonia and Sunil, I believe they end up eloping with each other. They end up getting eloped. Sunil ends up getting like a job or something, and he goes to this person's house. So he goes to the character that plays Prem Chopra. Prem Chopra, as y'all guys already know, RIP to him. He always plays the villains in these movies. I believe his character's name is Dhiraj. I believe Dhiraj Kapoor. That's his character's name in this movie. He tries to, and of course, like I said, I'm saying this sporadically, does not Spoilers. He, like, because Sonia and Sunil end up staying at his house temporarily, and Dheeraj is attracted to Sunil's wife. He tries to sexually assault her. Sunil comes back. This is the first time when I've really seen like Rajeshkhanna, and obviously I haven't really watched a lot of Rajeshkhanna films like that, but for the ones that I've did seen, like he's a very like romantic type of character, but I was like shocked to see like him being like this like fighter, like I'm gonna beat you up kind of thing. So like when he was fighting back and forth, I was like, oh, okay, there's a different route for him, especially for at that time in the early 70s for Rajeshkhanna. So he was fighting the guy that tried to sexually assault his wife. He ends up killing the guy that tries to sexually assault her, and then Sunil ends up getting arrested. And that whole court scene, it made, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all, for my Indian girlies, for my Bollywood girlies, I hope and pray this is not how the court cases are in India, because I was just like, first of all, why didn't they bring Sonia up on the stand to give her point of view in her case as to what happened? Like, I was just like what is going on here? So like they immediately thought that Sunil was guilty. They just like, oh yeah, he wanted Dheeraj's money, that's why he killed him, and blah 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 blah. And I was just like, okay, if that's the narrative that y'all want to go with. So they end up arresting Sunil. So when they arrest Sunil, they take him into like the police car with all the other prisoners. They end up taking him. Sonia is just like depressed and just sad. And then we find out that she's pregnant. And the uncle and the uncle and aunt are just going crazy. They were like, oh, because the thing is too, remember, they got eloped. So like they didn't get married in front of people. So, and this is why you shouldn't be eloping, just FYI, this is why you shouldn't be eloping. This is why you need witnesses to marriages. So when she got pregnant, and then by the next thing you know, we hear on the news that freaking the police car where they were escorting Sunil to the police station ends up getting into an accident, and they believe that the prisoners died in the car. So Sonia's just heartbroken. So the aunt is just going crazy. Yeah, I already know that. Sonia's aunt was getting on my nerves. Sonia ends up leaving her aunt and uncle's house, and her uncle was on her side. I will give him credit, but she ends up leaving because she doesn't want to deal with everything, like, and the social stigma of her being pregnant, and she's a widow, but like society thinks that she's not married or whatever. So she ends up leaving, and the time ends up, so it ends up fast forwarding like 5 years later. It ends up fast forwarding 5 years later. Sonia is living elsewhere. She becomes a teacher. She ends up having a son named Rinku. I believe that's his name, Rinku. She ends up having a son, so she ends up becoming a teacher. And this is where Raki's character, Chandani, is introduced. So her and Sonia are working together. But the thing is, I guess you could say that the Board of Education in that school end up finding out that Sonia is the wife of like a murderer and that sort of thing. So they're like, oh, we don't want her there. She's gonna be a bad influence on our kids and blah 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 blah. And to me, in my mind, I was like, Sonia, if you're gonna start your life afresh and new and things like that, why didn't you change your name? Like, I was like, that's what I was like in my mind. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, girl, like if you're gonna start anew and this 5 years later, you should have changed your name. You should have, gone with a different alias or something like that, so that people don't like look at you like a social suspect or something like that. So they said that they wanted to get rid of her. So Chandani, ended up vouching for Sonia, and she basically told Sonia, she was like, listen, you can come and stay in my house. I like you. I find you to be a friend, blah, blah, blah. So come stay in my house and we'll take it from there. Sonia takes Rinku with her. And mind you, Chandani who's played by Raki, Chandani ends up. So she's also a mother too. Okay, so her daughter also goes to the same school as where Sonia was teaching and where her son is also attended as well. So Chandani's daughter name is Pinky. So she's also enrolled in there. So they're both mothers. Okay, so they're both mothers. So when Sonia and Rinku goes to live with Chandani and Pinky, she goes to their house, lives with them, blah blah blah. Everything's going well, right? And then Chandani is like, oh, I have a husband, blah blah blah. So right then and there, and at first they didn't show the husband. They didn't show the husband. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then in my mind, I'm like, no, Sunil is dead, blah, blah. In my mind, that's what I thought. When I tell that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going to lie. This film was well written. I have to give it its 10. This film, Daag, was well written, especially for its time. Because sometimes, especially like, films, Hindi films from like the 70s can be very cheesy. You can tell what's going to happen next. But this film was well written. But so then freaking Sunil comes back with this mustache, okay, with this freaking Mughal, Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar built mustache. Here he comes. And then Chandani is like, oh, this is my husband. So I'm just like, and then this is and then Pinky was like, oh, daddy. And then we're like, so I'm watching this thing. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, Sunil, you mean to tell me we all thought that you were dead for the past 5 years? Freaking Sonia goes into, wandering, like just wandering through life. She ends up having a son, ends up, suffering and all these different things. And you mean to tell me you ended up getting married to Chandani and having a daughter with her? And then on top of that, his name, the name is, he changed his name to Sudhir. I believe that was his name in the movie, Sudhir. So I was so pissed. I was so pissed watching that. I was like, oh my God, Sunil, when I say you better have a good explanation, you better have a good explanation. But then again, I was like, the explanation still wouldn't make any sense. Because I'm like, what? I was so mad at him. So at first, when Sonia saw Sunil, she was like, wait a minute. She was so upset. So she was upset. She was crying. She was like, you know what? I can't stay here no more. She tries to take her son. So then at first I thought to myself, okay, did Sunil lose his memory during the accident? Like, that's what I was thinking. But then the way that Sunil kept staring at Sonia, I'm like, no, this man ain't lose his memory. He did not lose his memory. Him with his Jalaluddin Muhammad mustache. He did not lose his memory. He knows exactly who that is. Sonia tries to leave the house, and then Sunil is at the gate. He's like, he takes her back in. I'm gonna let y'all guys go watch the film and for him to show you his reasoning. Even though personally, it's like, I get it for why he did what he did, but at the same time, I was like, sir, you should have just continued. You should have just continued searching for your wife. Either way, I want to end the spoiler review here because there's actually more that comes out of this film towards the end. I actually want you guys to go watch the film and watch for yourselves what ends up happening towards like the climax. Even though technically this will be considered the climax, but there's actually more climaxes in this movie. So like the movie is really good. It's really good, and we end up finding out, how Sunil end up marrying Chandani, how the dynamic between Chandani and Sonia is going to be when she finds out that Sonia was married to Sunil. It's a lot. But I will say this. For this film, like I said, with Yash Chopra, to me, this felt like the first Yash Chopra film within that time where it didn't feel long-winded. The story felt very like, okay, on to the next, move it. And it didn't feel like, because usually I think for films back in those days, sometimes like the people's attention spans can be a little bit short. So this one, it didn't feel like that. So I will give Yash Chopra his credit for this film. I felt like it was greatly directed. I will say this, Rajeshkhanna, because at that time, you know, you couldn't tell Rajeshkhanna anything back in like the early 70s, okay? Rajeshkhanna was the man, okay? He was the superstar Rajeshkhanna. Everybody wanted to work with him. Everybody wanted to put him in his films. He was having hits after hits after hits. And his pairing with Sharmilatagore, where people wanted them to be together because they found their Jodie to be very attractive on screen. I will say this though, I know, because this is 1973, so at this time Rajesh Khanna was a huge star. I know that, especially Sharmilatagore, I know that they were upset, and I read something too, an article where Sharmilatagore was always upset that she had to work with Rajesh Khanna sometimes because he was notorious for being late on the set. Like, and the thing is, like, did he ever give a reason as to why he was always late? Like, what can somebody tell me in the comment section as far as like if Rajesh Khanna ever gave an explanation or a reason to why he was always late on the sets? Like, he was taking his time, okay? They said that he was taking his princely time coming onto the freaking sets. So I know they were tired, and especially at that time too, Sharmilatagore was already a mother. Raki was I think she just got married at that time too. So it's just like, ooh, I know they were tired. During that time. But Rajesh Khanna ended up taking a slice of humble pie towards like the mid 70s, going on to the late 70s, because that's when Amitabh Bachchan ended up becoming, basically the torch was passed to him. But yeah, I think that this was a great film. I highly recommend watching it on Netflix, especially if you're into like those like old school kind of films. I feel like the acting was good. I will say this. I was speaking to my dad. My dad feels like Rajesh Khanna's acting at times can be very one-dimensional, and I will say this. There are times where I can see that. Not to say that he's a bad actor, but especially for like the times where like he's supposed to be angry, like there's certain movements that he makes where I'm thinking the expression is supposed to be a little bit different, but like there are times where like Rajesh Khanna's facial expressions are just kind of stone face in those moments. So I can see where people might have thought that Rajesh Khanna can at times be like a one-dimensional sort of actor, because it can definitely come across, especially the times where he's supposed to be in like at an emotional state. So and I can see why people kind of veered off that and moved towards like a Amitabh Bachchan or like a Dharminder or a Manoj Kumar or someone like that, because they felt like they wanted something a little bit different. But he was good for his time. I would say that he was the romance guy at that time. So it's something where it's like, and the thing is, we might as well cherish they might as well cherish these moments, because they ain't never having another Rajesh Khanna ever in 2026 going forward. Because what star has come what star has come out of the Hindi film industry in the past 10 years? What star? What? Like, we have nobody. Like, so far, like in Bollywood, like they're trying to push the Janvi Kapoors, the Sara Ali Khans, the Ibrahim Ali Khan, what's the Pandey girl, that one, Kushi Kapoor. They're trying to push all these, star kids that have no goddamn talent. Tiger Shroff, like they're just there. You know what I mean? And it's just like, the acting is not acting. Hell, they're not even giving us one-dimensional. So at least Rajesh Khanna gave us something. It might not be amazing, but he gave us a little something. So it's like, at the end of the day, we're never going to have another Rajesh Khanna. We're never going to have another Amitabh. We're never going to have another Dharminder. We're never going to have another Dilip Kumar, Dev Anand, Raj Kapoor. Like, it's just, we're not going to have those stars. Like, unfortunately. And I hate that for us. I really do. I really, really do. I want there to be, like, I was hoping and praying that like Ranveer Singh, or especially Ranveer Singh, because I felt like he had so much potential, but even him, like, he doesn't take his image, like, it's done for him, because it's like he could have took his image seriously, because the acting was there. It's just his image. He needed to be more serious, and I felt like it's nothing. I'm just being served a bunch of nothing. So, and I know they're trying to, they're making Alia Bhatt and Ranbir Kapoor. It's just I don't get it from them. I don't feel it. It needs to be a feeling. I don't feel it from them. So, anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. You guys, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. How do you guys feel about Daag if you have watched it? Tell me your thoughts. And tell me some films that you guys want me. Give me some suggestions on what films you want me to review. If y'all want to go back and watch any of my previous Bollywood Talk / ZTV Talk playlists, I've done reactions and reviews of Bollywood TV shows, ZTV TV shows. I've discussed some celebrity news here and there. But yeah, y'all guys can go take a look at it. Here's my playlist here. Definitely bring up the views on the Dharminder passing. Okay, why I don't know why I only got three views. You guys go crank up the views for that one. So yeah, you guys can go to this playlist right here. All my previous reviews are up on my channel. Please subscribe to Ronnie Lipton on YouTube, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.